Welcome back to the YellowCard Vanguard channel. I'm your host, Toku from It's Toku TV on Twitch. Every Monday, I'm streaming Vanguard content, and the past few Mondays, we've been bringing up clan collection lists and testing them, so swing on by to be part of the process. We are on day 8 of clan collection course now, and Nubatama's new hot Oji-san daddy graces us with his present. The Houzan package we get from clan collection is very good, and is pretty much a ride line in itself that you always want to ride each piece every game. Each Houzan unit is a great unit as well. However, Houzan's shortcomings come from two things. A, there's no ride deck in V Premium, and B, it's Nubatama. That being said, Houzan is a completely new name in the clan, so we get to dip into Nubatama's generic card pool for option, but it's Nubatama, and whichever generic cards they have are not that highly impactful. Anyways, let's get him introduced. The new grade 1 martial artist of laceration, Houzan. This is Houzan at his youth, and it is the ideal grade 1 ride of this deck. On ride, you check the top 7 of your deck to find a grade 2 or grade 3 Houzan and add it to hand. On the rear, after the attack that he boosts or attacks, you can bounce an opponent's rear guard back to their hand. The new grade 2 is Master Swordsman of Successive Victory Houzan. Depicting Houzan's desire to unite all of Nubatama, he has the first effect on Vanguard or rear that when he attacks a Vanguard, you bounce an opponent's rear guard. And if your opponent is grade 2 or higher, he gains 10k for the attack. Mind you, the bounce is mandatory if there is a rear guard to bounce, but gaining the power is not contingent on it. His second effect is the most important, I believe, and really helps you catch up when going second. When rode upon by a grade 3, if your opponent has 3 or more rear guards, your Vanguard gains a crit and a drive. Coupled with the new Heal Guardians, this can really neuter your opponent's first turn at grade 3, as they'd be discouraged to go full aggressive and allow you for a safe transition into grade 3. The final piece is Sword Saint of Invincibility Dai Houzan. This is the deck's boss unit, and it has the following main effect. When attacking a Vanguard, you can Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1 to bounce an opponent's rear guard. This is mandatory, and gain 5k and a drive. Then, if your opponent is grade 3 or higher, and they have 1 or less rear guards, Dai Houzan gains another 10k and a critical. Combining this with the grade 2 Houzan skill, if your opponent plays into it, your first ride onto Dai Houzan would be a triple crit, quad drive, 28k Vanguard swing. Now, his second effect is what really makes him pop. When your opponent's normal unit is placed on rear circle during their turn, if your opponent has 4 more cards in hand, they must discard 1. In V format, this amounts to a soft hand control in conjunction with the bouncing that Houzan cards provide. But this really shines in P Premium, where just by riding him, you're able to cut down decks that aim to go infinite down to side. Finally, we've got the new Heal Guardian, Shura Stealth Dragon Mumyo Congo. I like the inclusion of Mumyo Congo in this deck, as being able to provide 1 counterblast going first at grade 3 can go a long way, and we can also use Magatsu Gale afterwards to bounce the heal back to our hand. Furthermore, going second, as stated before, in conjunction with grade 2 Houzan skill, having Mumyo Congo in hand can provide for a really safe and easy transition into grade 3. Let's take a look at what Nubatama and Houzan shape out to be after clan collection. Obviously, as this is a pseudo ride chain deck, we're looking to max out on our Houzan pieces for max consistency. So we're running 4 of the grade 1 Houzan, 4 of the grade 2 Houzan, and 4 of grade 3 Dai Houzan. Now, what do I envision the win con of this deck to be? It's at this point that we need to realize Nubatama doesn't really have a great win con besides out pressuring their opponent. So I'm looking for pieces that enable Dai Houzan as much as possible. Ways to bounce opponent's rear guards back to hand, so Dai Houzan's crit is always live. Luckily, the grade 1s and the grade 2s of the new Houzan package fulfill these roles for us. Unfortunately, we are looking to ride the grade 1 and the grade 2, so that leaves us with 3 copies of each to use as rear guards. Secondly, these bounces activate on or after attack, so to enable Dai Houzan, we'd have to swing with a column first, thus leaving only 1 column able to give triggers to. To help us with keeping our opponent's board empty, I've opted into 4 copies of Stealth Beast Tamahagane, which lets us bounce a rear guard and force a discard. This is on play rather than on attack, which provides a venue for us to donate triggers to should Dai Houzan be perfect guarded. Finally, to give this deck some killing power, I've opted to run one copy of a nuke in Stealth Beast Kokushi Garasu. Truth be told, this seems like a pipe dream, but by itself, Kokushi Garasu enables a full board bounce, and in conjunction with Dai Houzan's second skill, that discard 5 might hurt a lot more than might seem. Obviously, the Soul Blast 3 cost is the big limiting factor here, but holy moly does Nubatama have jack shit for Soul Charge. Our trigger lineup consists of 6 criticals and 6 draws, 4 of which being the Sentinels, as well as the 4 Grade 3 heal Guardians. I've opted to move 2 crits into 2 draws since I hope to always have Dai Houzan's crit be live, and having an extra 2 draws should help us find pieces faster in a larger sample size. The Grade 3 Heal Guardians were chosen over Vanilla Guardians for the ability to enable plays our first turn to Grade 3, and the ability to bounce it back to our hand through Magatsu Gale, but also the ability to help us transition to mid to late game fairly safely. Speaking of Magatsu Gale, he is unironically our best source of Soul Charge, but he's also a pretty good attacker through his first skill, so we will max out on him as well. This now leaves us with 12 slots to mess around with. Honestly speaking, I was not confident with some of these choices, and I do think there are a few better options, but the Nubatama pool is not what I'll call anywhere near the gold standard. I've chosen to run full playsets of Stealth Beast Katagiri Gitsune, Stealth Rogue of the Night Sakura Fubuki, and Evil Stealth Dragon Zongetsu. Katagiri Gitsune was chosen to help filter for Kokushi Garasu, but more importantly, more copies of Dai Houzan to rewrite into as our pitiful source of pitiful soul. Unfortunately, with not many ways of generating tokens, his first effect will not be live most of the time. We chose to run Sakura Fubuki as a way to, once again, filter for combo pieces, but more importantly, provide a source of emergency countercharge for the deck, since we aim to use at least one counterblast per turn through Dai Houzan. Finally, the card I am definitely not 100% sure about, Evil Stealth Dragon Zongetsu. I really only chose this card as a way to get a cheap +2 board, but also to enable Katagiri Gitsune's first effect. But I'm sure there are much better options. If we were to fix up this list, surely Zongetsu would be the first to go, and we would just forego Katagiri Gitsune's attack boost. Options to consider are obviously ways to refill the soul for how heavy this deck goes in on the soul. One consideration is Stealth Rogue of Goldhook's Aogita, which has the same condition as Dai Houzan when your opponent has 1 or less rear guard. He can Soul Charge from drop zone a grade 2 or less card when he attacks or boosts. This is probably my first consideration if I find that Soul is the major limiting factor for us to play this deck, as every turn I can resolve him, it is a free Soul Blast. Now, instead of looking at ways to refill Soul, we can also consider ways to use less Soul, period. If we can find ways to enable Dai Houzan without the use of Soul, that may also work as well. Unironically, we can consider Stealth Dragon Voidmaster, which has a similar effect to the Grade 2 Houzan to bounce either player's rearguard at the end of battle for 1 counterblast, but also locks your opponent from intercepting. Now, the timing on this is obviously not ideal since that's another column that has to attack before we can resolve a Dai Houzan attack. But if Soul ends up being that limiting to us, it's something we can consider. Finally, an alternative nuke instead of Kokushi Garasu is Shura Stealth Dragon Houzan Congo. If you find that games do go long enough that you can fill up your drop zone, Houzan Congo is a great unit that you can transfer criticals from drive checks over to, and swing for a massive amount for a crit with Sentinel Restrict. Now, as to where I think Dai Houzan stands in the meta after Clan Collection drops, realistically speaking, not too high, but not at the bottom of the ladder either. I think the card in itself is fantastic and is held back by its clan. Maybe with another wave of good generic support, Dai Houzan could start taking names. However, keep an eye out for Nubatama in Premium, because your opponent ending their turns with less hand than normal, and then being forced to stare down a Shiranui Rine in the face is probably game-breaking. In any case, that's all I've got to say for Oda Nobu Houzan for today's segment of Clan Collection, and I will catch you all on the channel tomorrow. Toku out.